Welcoming remarks. This will be done by the Managing Director of Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation, Mr. Abdoulaye Tambidou. MD.
I think I can remove my mask. The representative of the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, the representatives of all the Federated Pension Scheme members of the Social Security and Housing Finance Funds, the representatives of the board, management, and staff of the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation, the representative of the civil society organization, here represented by Mr. John Jai. We thank you very much for coming to officiate the election process. Mr. Tamsir Sala of the Gambia Ports Authority, the current representative of the Federated Pension Scheme in the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation Board, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. Assalamu alaikum. We are gathered here this morning for the election of the Federated Pension Scheme representative at the board of the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation. Just be reminded that this is a requirement of the SSHFC Act 2015, Clause 5.1h and 7.1, which requires that a representative of the employee members of the pension fund serves in the governing body of the corporation together with other members for an initial period of 3 years and renewable once. The present board of directors has been in place since May 2018, following their election for a 3-year term. Ladies and gentlemen, since my appointment at the helm of the corporation in April 2020, we have tried to steady the ship and to make sure that the excesses of the previous regime are never repeated, as per the slogan of the TRRC, never again. We have tried to work on the trajectory of improving the financial status of the corporation to ensure that the deficits of the actuarial valuation of 2014 of $518 million reduced to a deficit of $29.8 million by December 2017 valuation are improved upon in the coming years. The next one is currently being looked at for the 3 years ended December 2020. During the 2017 actuarial valuation, ladies and gentlemen, the following were the conclusions made by the actuaries. The primary funding objective of the FPS, which states that the existing assets should be enough to cover fully the value of the benefits in respect of service already completed, has not been achieved. The total value of the assets of the Federated Pension Scheme was 98.5% of total actuarial liabilities. The fund has a total past service deficit of $29.8 million, as I just rightly said, which has decreased as of December 2017, decreased from $518 million as of December 2014, 3 years prior. Over the last 5 years, we have attempted to reverse that trend and ensure that we return to the surplus of the earlier years. I just want to remind you that in 2016, there was a deficit in the funds of the corporation as at $1.8 billion deficit as at December 2016. That was turned around in 2017 to a surplus of $17 million. And audited, these are all audited figures. 2018 also increased to $85.6 million surplus. 2019 increased to, audited still, $140.7 million surplus. And 2020, being my first year in office, we also maintained this surplus, increasing to $249 million surplus, although that is draft as of now. Following my appointment as the managing director of the corporation in April 2020, my management concluded the negotiations with the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs for government of the Gambia to take over a loan of $810 million owed to the corporation by the National Water and Electricity Company Limited. The Memorandum of Understanding signed in July 2020 ensured that a hitherto fully provided for loan of $810 million was taken over by the government of the Gambia for repayment over the subsequent 5 years at a biannual loan repayment of $81 million. Ladies and gentlemen, I can gladly announce that the first installment of $81 million due in March 2021, barely 3 months ago, was paid in full by the government of the Gambia. This is a big achievement which we could not have done without the support of our line ministry, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. We hope to continue with similar discussions and approaches to ensure that most, if not all, that was lost in the previous regime is recovered in the coming years. Having a good representative at the board of the corporation helps the management in the running of the corporation, given the very important functions of the office, done mainly through the guidance of the board. It would not be fair, ladies and gentlemen, before concluding, without mentioning the challenges currently faced by the corporation, the major ones. We have a heavy SOE debt of $2.2 billion, which, apart from the $810 million taken over by government, the SOEs are mainly struggling. And this non-repayment is heavily exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic also. The impact of the COVID-19 has led to heavy withdrawals of savings due to those members losing their jobs. Another constraint faced by the corporation is the rigidity of the HSHFC Act and regulations, which led to a big delay in members' ability to be satisfactorily served until the regulations were amended with provisions such as reduced cooling off periods and some other measures put in place. The high level of staff numbers, access to requirements, continue to be a burden on the corporation, which is being managed through natural attrition, transfers, and reskilling in other departments within the corporation. Finally, the relatively low level of salaries of the corporation compared to other sister state-owned enterprises is also a major challenge, which we hope to review through a proper study and once our finances can sustain same. Ladies and gentlemen, now that there is a vaccine for the COVID-19 and vaccination take-up is increasing, I do hope that the activities of the various economies will pick up, the Gambia not being left behind, improvement in business confidence, increase in the employment levels, and leading to increase in employment levels and better quality of jobs creation. Not only increasing the numbers, but it is important that the quality of jobs created also increase. All this will lead to increased membership and increase in contributions, and hence the bottom line of the corporation. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tamsir Salah, here seated, has been a board member of the corporation since May 2018, having served us over the last 3 years. He has served the corporation and the board especially very well, and we wish him good luck in case he intends to go for a second and final term, and wish a good luck to any new elected representative in case you, the Federated Pension Scheme representatives, so desire. I wish you successful deliberations and election of a new or continued membership of representative of Mr. Salah for another 3 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MD. That's a statement for our members of the Federated Pension Scheme. Now I turn on to an overview of the fund. We think we should take this opportunity. Our Director of Operations will talk to members about the challenges of the fund in detail, rather than what MD has just mentioned. So Mr. Edward Gomez.
I would like to thank the Managing Director for a wonderful statement. And without wasting time, I just want to give you a brief overview of the pension scheme and the challenges that we are faced with. Because we believe some of those challenges are beyond us. And we can only get over those challenges if we collaborate with the people that are part of the scheme, that is you, the members. Now, beginning with the fund, the Federated Pension Scheme. Something wrong is happening there. Sorry. Now, the corporation itself was established by an act of parliament in June 1991, but operations only started in January 1982. Now, when we talk about the inside Social Security, we run several schemes. We have what we call the Federated Pension Scheme, the National Provident Fund, the Industrial Injuries Compensation Fund, and we also have what we call a housing fund. Now, in terms of coverage, the pension fund covers members of SOEs, or sometimes we call them semi or quasi-government institutions. But notwithstanding, the Act also allows for private employers to register their employees under the Federated Pension Fund if they so wish to do so, but with the condition that the responsibility of paying contributions should be entirely theirs. Now, the NPF provides protection to private sector employees. The ICF, by implication, is the largest of the schemes that we have, and it provides compensation in relation to work-related injuries. Then we also have what we call housing scheme that aims at providing cheap and sustainable housing alternative to needy Gambians. Now, in terms of registration for the FPS, we have what we call the SS1 form that is filled out. And amongst the details that we require, or that are required to be provided in the form are things like your name and surname, date of employment, position, salary, and marital status. Some of these things may sound to be simple and direct, but sometimes we face some problems, particularly when people give names that are not the same with the ones that they have in their official documents like birth certificates and so on. So it becomes a problem for us. And sometimes we also have issues of dates of birth not corresponding with the real dates of birth. So you begin to wonder whether people are born twice in the year or so. Now, we also need other details like the annual salary, which will give us a clue as to how much contribution should be paid on your behalf. Previous service, if there is any, then you have a date of birth, then you have the endorsement column by the employer. Now, in terms of contribution, we have, for the Federated Pension Scheme, the rate of contribution is 15% of gross salary. And here when we say gross salary, we mean basic plus all other fixed allowances that are fixed. Like, for example, transport allowance and so on. So 15% of the basic plus the gross allowance or the fixed allowances is what we refer to as gross salary. So 15% of that should be paid. Now we ask ourselves, who is responsible for paying that? Is it the employer or the employee? In this case, it is entirely the responsibility of the employer. So the employer pays on behalf of the employee. Now, when we talk about payments, it is also good to know that there are dates for payment. Like, for example, when the month ends, of course, we expect contributions to come in. But again, what does the Act say as per the time frame that is allowed for you to pay your contributions, failing which punitive measures are applied? Now, if you look at the Act, it says Section 43, subsection 1, says that contributions that are not received after the 15th day of the following month would attract a penalty charge of about 2.5%. But here again, it is important to note that this 2.5%, or the penalty aspect of it, is on a compound interest base. So that in the first month, if your total contribution is, let's say, 500,000, after the 15th of the following month, it will be 2.5 of the 500. But in the second month, if still it is not paid, it will be 2.5 of the 500 plus the interest element. So let's say, for example, if the interest element was, let's say, 150,000. So that added to 500,000 will be 650,000. So in the next month, it will be 2.5% of 650,000. So it is good we understand it that way. Benefits, in terms of benefits, of course, the retirement age has since been revised from 55 to 60. And with that revision, it means the retirement age now is 60 years. Now, there are several types of benefits that are paid. Normal retirement, we have, that is when you work up till age 60 and you retire. So if you are supposed to retire, if you retire at 60, it means you are paid a normal retirement benefit. Now what the law says is for 10 years, for those retirees who serve 10 years and above, you are entitled to a gratuity and a periodic pension. Less than 10 years service would mean you are only entitled to a single lump sum payment, which is a gratuity. So it is also important that we note those things. Voluntary retirement. Now here, despite the law says that you are supposed to retire at age 60, the same law also gives a leeway for people who, for one reason or the other, would not want to work up till when they are 60. So the law says if you want to check out before you are actually 60, you are permitted to do so. So here it says members of the FPS can retire prematurely at age 45, but if you are to retire at age 45, it is also good for you to know that you have to consider some other things like your length of service and so on, because they are all important. They will be determinant as to whether you qualify for a gratuity and a periodic pension, or whether you don't qualify for a periodic pension. So it is good we know all those things. Retirement on the grounds of ill health. Now, sometimes we know that in life, people are faced with conditions that would prevent them from continuing to work. So because of that, the law has also taken into consideration that if individuals or members of the scheme are not, or they are sick, and because of their sickness, they cannot continue working, then they can proceed on the basis of ill health. But here it is good to note that when we say you can proceed on, or when the law says you can proceed on ill health, it has to be certified by a certificate from a recognized medical practitioner. So you just don't go to a nurse and you get a paper to say I'm sick, or you go to a herbalist or a marabo, you get something, and you think that will qualify you. No, it won't qualify you. So it is also good we take note of that. Redundancy. These are for cases where institutions are faced with financial problems, and for one reason or the other would want to downsize the workforce to make sure that the overhead cost goes down. So for that case also, those that are redundant will also qualify for benefits. But there are other conditions that they should also be taken into consideration to determine whether the individual is qualified for a gratuity and a periodic pension or a single lump sum payment. Survivor's benefit. Now here, this is a benefit that is paid to the survivors of a deceased member of the scheme. Now this one, what happens is, it is a single lump sum payment, and what is paid to the beneficiaries. Now here it is important we know that sometimes it is possible that when you are registering you are single and you put maybe your parents or your brothers or sisters as survivors. Along the line you get married. So it is important we take note of those issues, because sometimes we get challenges of having disease, processing claims to find out that indeed the individual registered when he was single, but along the line he got married but never regularized this person to say he's now married and so on. So sometimes there are some frictions between maybe the other family members and the wife and the children and so on. So it is good we take note of this person. We have a form that we call nominee verification form. Nominee verification form. Yes, yeah, that is the form that we use to update this column. That is the nominee column that we have in the registration form. So it is good you let your employees know about that, so that they can keep updating that column as and when their status change. You can register when you have one wife and along the line you have 2, 3. No kid, 1 child, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So you can update as many times as the need arises. There is no limit. Now there is also this column that I want us to discuss. When we talk about the FPS, what are the challenges that we have faced, both at the point of registration, towards claims, and so on? Now, during registration, what are the challenges that we have faced? Payment of contribution, what are the challenges that are faced? Benefit claim period, what are the challenges that are faced? Now, in registration, there is this issue of eligibility. Who is to be covered and who is not to be covered? Now, sometimes we are faced with situations where employers keep people in an institution for 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and yet still they claim they are casual workers. And you begin to wonder, what type of casual worker is that? I think what is important is the law says if somebody works for a period of a month and attracts a salary, the person should be covered. So it is good that you know that if I employ somebody or somebody under contract, if the person is within the registrable age limit, then the person should be registered. Probationary periods are covered. People on fixed contract and are still within the registrable age limit, they should be covered. So this issue of casual workers should be put aside. As far as the law is concerned, a casual worker is somebody who works on a piecemeal basis. And when we say piecemeal, we mean somebody who, let's say you have a laptop that is broken. I have a laptop that is broken. I go to Mr. Njai, I talk to him because I know he can do the job for me. And Mr. Njai asked me, look, I will fix this, you pay me $500. I gave it to him, he fixed it, I pay him $500, the deal is done. Those type of jobs. But apart from that, somebody who works for a period of 1 month and above and is paid a salary should be registrable. Now the issue of salary details here. Now here again, it is important that we give correct information regarding salary because that is what will give us a clue as to how much is to be paid for each individual. Now, if you understate the salary, it means the contributions will be coming short. Sometimes we are also faced with problems like that. And the issue of marital status, change of names and so on, particularly for women. If we are married and we want to change our names to include the sole name of the husband and so on, you are free to do so. But make sure that it is backed with proper documentation, like the certificate you get from the Cadi or the church and so on. Then you do a covering letter addressed to the managing director to say, from henceforth, I wish to be called Mrs. So, so, and so. Now, when it comes to payment of contributions, what are the problems that we are faced with? Here, we already talked about understating salaries in the registration form. So that problem is carried over to the payment side. Because if the salary is understated, it means the contributions will also be understated, which is a problem. And sometimes what we do is, it is only at the point of processing that we detect that, well, indeed the salary of the person was understated. Because when the retiree comes and they want to know and we tell them, well, we've gotten your form and this is the salary that is stated there, they will begin to say, no, 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 that's not my salary. My salary is this amount. So we will begin to start communicating with the employer to verify that information and so on. Now, that precious time that we should have used to process the claim and pay benefits would be used to verify the information alone. So it's not helping us, it is also not helping the retiree. Time of payment. Now here, this is one of those issues that is very, very critical. And sometimes we are faced with challenges from employers when we write to them to draw their attention to the fact that contributions were received late, and as a result, penalties are levied and the amount is so. They will begin to say, no, why are you charging me that and so on. Now, it is important for you to know that we are not charging you or we are not levying penalty in respect of late payment. It is not us. It is the law. The Act says if payments are received late, then interest should be levied. Why is that interest being levied? It is being levied because when payments are late, we are not getting the money that we should have invested and gotten returns. So it's a replacement. And in other areas, in other funds, we are also obliged to credit members' account with interest. So you begin to imagine where is that money coming from. So that is why the Act is saying, well, payments should be within this time frame after which interest should be levied. So if you go to section 43, subsection 1, it is clearly stated there. Now, the other challenge that we face is this problem of this facility of payment of contribution through the banks using the RTGS. Now, we have written to employers over and over and over. Some have they've taken heed to what we've told them. Others, you write to them 1,000,000 times, they would still not take heed. We are not saying you should not pay through the bank. It's a facility that is available. And in fact, it is relieving us of a lot of problems. But what the law says is, if you pay through the bank, you get the RTGS advice slip. Take that RTGS advice slip and you attach it to the schedules, the list of people that you've paid for. Then you bring it to Social Security and you submit it there and be giving your receipt. So if you only stop at the bank, your transaction at the bank, how do we know that you have paid? Obviously, those at the finance department would see that money is being credited into our account, but they wouldn't know what that money is meant for. So it is good when you start the transactions, complete the whole transaction, and it is only complete when you go to Social Security with the advice slip and the schedules and you are giving a receipt. If you don't do that, it means the transaction is not complete. Now, the challenges, claims and benefit processing. What are the challenges that we face? Now, for the FPS, it is evident that when an individual retires, it is the employer who fills the form and sends it to us. So it is important for us to take note of the fact that the time that the form is processed and sent to Social Security is important. If I retire today and you wait for 3 weeks to send the form, it means you are delaying the process. And in delaying the process, the person is being affected. That is, the retiree is affected because he or she wouldn't receive his or her money on time. Now, what does the employer have to do? You fill the form, and you put in all the necessary attachment, and you send it to Social Security. Now, of recent, I think it's getting to 2 years now, we've in fact tried to modify the process to make sure that we save on the time that we spend to process. And in that modification, previously what we used to do is we process, then we send you a letter to say this is the amount, send us advice regarding the liability details of the retiree. But now we've included all that in the first process. Include all those details when you are submitting the form so that we don't have to come back to you. It is saving time for us and also making sure that the person gets his benefits on time. Now, the role of the retiree, if I am retiring, obviously it is my responsibility to provide some details that will be needed, like a photograph and so on. So what is important is maybe a couple of months before the person retires, you start preparing the person's mind. Because sometimes when you don't prepare their minds and you just come with a letter, you are retiring next week or next month, you see that sense of confusion in them because they've not planned themselves. Now, in fact, what I have seen some institutions do by the end of the year, in fact, they will organize a workshop for the people that are retiring the next year, from January to December, just to prepare their minds. That is a very good strategy. Now, our role is only to process and pay accordingly. But in as much as we are processing and paying accordingly, that process is being determined by the retiree and the employer. They are the ones who should facilitate that process to make sure that it is a quick process. If contributions have not been forthcoming, obviously before we process and pay, we will get back to you to say you've not paid from this period to this period. Could you kindly pay before we process and pay? That alone is taking precious time from us. So these are definitely the things we should take note of. On that note, I end here and maybe invite maybe a few questions for clarification. If nothing, then we proceed.
What's your name and the institution you are representing? Can you just start, please? Have your name and the institution you are representing.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. My name is EPRESENTATIve from the Gambia Maritime Administration. I just have one question and maybe one suggestion. The question is, what is the timeline for processing the benefit in case you don't have any missing information from the institutions in terms of the payment and probably information to supply? That's the question, what timeline? Because we're a small community, we hear people complaining that they have been following their benefit for quite a long time before they get it. What is the standard timeline at Social Security for people to get their benefit? That's one question. The other question is, at the time of registration, people normally supply their age, and of course Social Security, knowing the statutory retirement age, knows when the people will definitely retire. So would it not be useful for Social Security, I mean, in advance of the retirement period, alert the institutions? This is when the person is due for retirement, and therefore you could even start saying how much he's going to get before even they send in information on two model bases. One is the current contribution that you have received in the name of the person from the institution, and how much he is also owing, the institution is owing in case they pay. So you could have those two scenarios, possible scenarios, so that in case they just supply information, the person could just get his benefit as timely as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Regarding the first question, the timeline, I can confidently tell you that we have processed claims within a period of 1 week and pay. But those are rare situations. When I say rare situations, those are situations, I mean situations where everything is intact. No problem with the bio data, no problem with the financial data. We've processed and paid claims within 5 days, 5 working days. But the $1 million question is, how much of those situations do we have? It is a problem. It is a problem. Most of the time, you either find, if you don't have problems with the bio data, you have problems with the financial data. The bio data, it is a common Gambian problem. Some of us, the way we call at home and the way and what is in our papers is different. Like, let's say, Momodu Lamin. You see, sometimes we take some things to be very, very minor. And at the end of the day, those minor things are what brings problems for us. Like, for example, you find situations where, let's say for Casey, names like Baboucar, B-A-B-O-U-C-A-R-R, maybe would be what is on the registration form. But when you go to the documents, for example, you find B-U-B-A-C-A-R-R. So these are situations that these are minor things that would sometimes cause unnecessary delays for us, because before you actually process, you have to regularize all those things. And sometimes when you call people and tell them, well, we've detected this problem with your documentation, could you kindly bring us an affidavit to say, well, Bubakar and Babukar is referring to one and the same person. If you they will tell you, I will bring it today. It will take them the extra 1, 2, 3 weeks for them to bring them. We have seen situations like, for example, the disease survivor's claim, where you have to rely on the survivors. Sometimes, because of the way our societies are structured, it is a problem to get people together. For example, a deceased person gets 3 wives. Maybe they have never been in good terms. One is staying in Jambanjeli, one in Banjul, the other one in Bakau. Bringing them together to put up a joint claim is a problem. So there are a host of issues. Sometimes we take them to be very, very minor issues, but they bring problems for us. Your second question, you talked about why don't we get to the employer so that they notify people in advance, that we notify them that so-and-so is getting retired and so on. Actually, we have what we call Project 59. And in that Project 59, we write to the employers. We write to the employer and tell them that, let's say, for example, in 2022, these are the people who will be retiring in your institution. And what we want to do is, we want us to come together and begin to look at the bio and the financial data so that we get all of them regularized if there are any problems, so that at the point of retirement there wouldn't be any delay. But how many of them will turn up? So there are a host of issues that force us to corners that really delay processes, and they are beyond our control. I think you wanted to say something.
Yes, no, I wanted to mention the Project 59, and it's good that you mentioned it. Because even last year, at the advent of the COVID, we wrote to all the FPS members requesting all those retiring in the next 6 months, just to make sure that we prepare ourselves in case the COVID was as bad as people were initially predicting. However, thank God, it was not too bad. But we did, as Edu said, we have this Project 59, where the employees age 59, we write to the FPS member, the employer, and the request, give them all their names, sex, whatever, the exact date of retirement, and request for the forms to be started processing, so that at age 60, within a week, ask them, we are planning to have that. Within a day or two, you receive your check in your account.
Yeah, in fact, we have had cases where the employers responded through this Project 59. And when they responded, we calculated everything, and we just left it hanging in the workflow. On the 60th birthday, we just triggered and we sent it out to finance.
Yes. Yes, madam. Which institution, sorry?
Gambia National Library. We have never received that letter.
Okay, we'll take note of that. We'll send you
maybe the reason for that is you did not have anybody retiring in that last one.
when we started.
Because this happened, when did we send the letter? Around,
I think about when COVID started, that was when we implemented it.
So
That's about 2 years now.
they did not have any retiring.
Did you have somebody who retired in the past 2 years? Yeah, and maybe that's why you were not written to. Yeah, we write to people with institutions or institutions with people that are retiring, and we include all their names and their dates of retirement.
Yes, can we have you?
Yes, I am Bakari Jamie. My only concern has to do with one of the requirements for retiring, voluntary retirement, which is on EPRESENTATIve. You mentioned that it has to be That tells me that the only recognized form of medicine in this country is conventional medicine. We saying that that is the only recognized form of medicine in this country.
Bakari.
Maybe he has to tell us what other form is recognized.
The only way you can resolve the problem is for them to liaise with the traditional healers association.
Bakari, I think maybe your question is food for thought for the MD and the management team, so that we are in the process of trying to review the act. So this is something that they should they could actually take on board, discuss it in-house, and see whether there what can be done to sort of incorporate something like that. But as we stand, well, the act does not provide for that side. It's rather unfortunate. Sometimes we still, some of us still have the belief that sometimes you have ailments that cannot be cured in the hospital, and you decide to resort to the traditional means. But unfortunately, fortunately, the current act does not cover for that. We are sorry anyway.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. My name is Sidi Dame, GRA. Thank you very much for the presentation. It is really helpful, actually. My question is to do with the survivor's claim that you talked about. We have been receiving a lot of complaints about getting the money through the creator and sometimes the caddies. I don't know whether it was brought to your attention. If yes, please could you elaborate and help us?
Sidi, thank you. Sometimes it was brought to me. Well, you know, sometimes me, I believe in limiting myself to what I am permitted to do as per the law. Because if you look at the act, what the act says is when we are paying, we pay through the curator of interstate. But how they disburse that money is not within our powers. I think the MD knows about that. It's not within our powers because we've had situations, personally I've received complaints of people coming to me and saying, well, I was deducted this amount in respect of administrative charges. Sometimes they will say they've just given us this percentage and they've decided to keep that percentage and so on. Well, that is beyond us as per the provisions of the Act. And I guess this is one of the reasons why a lot of people now are going through the CADI. Of late, we've been receiving a lot of requests for the money to be paid through the CADI. And I was made to understand that through the CADI, they get the money quicker compared to the curator of interstate. And in fact, some people have confirmed to me to say the charges are lower, in fact. But that is beyond us anyway.
Good morning. I'm Mr. Omar Ture, Government Service. Just a suggestion concerning about the details you have given here. I think it's very indicative. If you can have a team from your institution to go around and sensitize others so that they can know, I think it's very important.
Thank you.
This is,
maybe in response to follow up on what this gentleman talked about, traditional medicine. I think one of the things that all of us should realize is that Social Security is a membership scheme, and members can advocate, get to the management, and if you have suggestions, you make suggestions for improvement of the services. The problem we have in our country, we all sit and complain and wait for people to make mistakes and then, attack them, criticize them. But we should be more proactive members. So if people have good ideas, there is nothing wrong with sending it to management or to your board representative and say, look, can we consider making our conditions better? And I think we need to have a more proactive membership than those that, and rather than waiting to criticize and attack.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I think supposed to be doing very well. But years down the line, a few years ago, we used to provide statements about contributions for each contributor from the organization. So suddenly this stopped. I think if you can divide this, I think this is very, very useful. Because the feedback I get from my employees, they say that there's nothing getting it. And this definitely help them to know at each stage how much contribution they have up to the year. So if we can revive this, I think it will be something useful.
Yeah, you want to answer that question?
That's the gentleman.
No, but this is the federal scheme.
Of course, the statement. Yeah.
Good morning, I'm Babu Kanya. Okay, we prefer to request that that you are in a scheme that does not have individual account. Statements, normally, when you say statement, even my person, I want to know my account in my bank or those things. But for the FPS, it is not an individual account. It is a pool. That is why FPS, there are applications and disadvantages. You can pay 10 and have one. You can pay 1 and have 300. And have 300. So you don't have individual statements because there is no money is paid into the account and it is indicated as the bank account. Like the program as opposed to the program for where you are paying they are paying for bank. That is bank contribution and it's only bank contribution. Nobody can pay. So that is why we are not. But we've been doing that with the FPS, but it's not a statement. It is just a document that will give you, so that you can able to know whether your name is correctly spelled, like your date of birth is correctly indicated, and then because these are the most important things that you have when you retire and then you're about to be paid. So it was not meant for you to know because you don't know, you don't know your account, there's no investment account. So that's the reason.
Yeah, let me just add to that. Irrespective of the fact that we don't send those statements now, but every month what we do for the FPS, we do a reconciliation. And from that reconciliation, we are able to know those that are in arrears. And from that, we send demand notices to them. And these demand notices are always copied to the line ministry. So we have been on top of issues to make sure that every month when we do that, we send the employer a demand notice that will say you have not paid, for example, for January and February, and this is your arrears in the form of basic and interest element, the total is so. So we have been doing that. We have been doing that comfortably, and I think maybe sometimes there are breakdowns in communication between maybe the CEOs and maybe the people, the directors that are responsible for social security issues. And sometimes these things are not filtered down to the CEO for the CEO to know that the institution is actually in arrears. Or sometimes the director will assign an officer to say, well, you be responsible, and they will not be giving accurate information. Because several times we've confronted a particular employer to say, well, you have not been giving us schedules. But the employer keeps writing to say, well, the schedules have been sent. Up till a point when the director said, look, wait a second, let me find out what is happening. So he contacted the officer responsible, only for him to find out that the officer indeed was saying the schedules and the RTJs were being sent and receipts given, and that is not accurate. So sometimes there are miscommunications anyway. So it is good when we are in areas we let the CEO know, because he's the chief accounting officer of the institution, so that he knows that I am in areas and definitely these areas needs to be paid. If there is no money and he needs to take it up with the board or the line ministry, he will do that accordingly.
Okay, let's ask one last question. Madam?
Yes.
Can you stand up, please? Your name.
It's not a question actually, but a contribution. My name is Khadija Bokum from GRTS. about the awareness programs. I believe that there are so many people out there who do not know about what the Social Security is doing. And we have employees out there who do not tell, employers who do not tell their employees what to do when it comes to Social Security. And that is mainly in the private sector. We have so many people who have retired and they are loitering around without knowing what to do. And we have so many people who are working without knowing whether they need to be part of Social Security or not, or even if this institution do exist or not, or what are your policies and how you regulate. So this has been a major issue, and I believe it is a setback for so many people who are working in the Gambia and who really deserve this, and they are not getting it. So that is one thing that I feel like the people need to work on, and also keep the public aware about this.
You want to answer that?
No, it's a comment. So that is for DCA and an MD to take note of.
Thank you very much. Let me take the last one. We already.
Yes, if you don't give me a chance, I'll give my chance. My name is Mr. Gali, MD. My comment goes to the statement by the MD. He made mention of plans out that's where transferred. And he also made mention of 2.2 trillion dollars from the other SOEs. Are there any, concrete plans that those funds also can be recovered as the plan for now? Because the overall situation of the fund is very, very critical for the members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jay. I think I can confirm that we are in serious negotiations with government with a view to ensuring that, as I said in my statement, a lot of it is recovered, if not all, not even in cash or in equivalent. So we are looking at various measures, and we have engaged the presidency on that, and hopefully some positive results will come out. But it is a concern for the corporation. That was why we took the opportunity of at least starting this one with the Ministry of Finance. When we initiated it, most people thought that government would not meet its side of the bargain. But we just had an $81 million was credited into our account. I think it was positive. It was a good risk. It was a case actually in court, but we decided to withdraw out of court, and now we were rewarded accordingly. We are looking at other measures like those, ensuring that at least the viability of the fund is not threatened at all. Thank you.
Okay, we come to the end of the statement by the Director of Operations, Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation, Mr. Edward Thomas. Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. We just move on to next agenda on the program, which is a report. Mr. Tamsir Sala is the Director of Finance of the Gambia Ports Authority. As the MD has alluded earlier, he was representing you the past 3 years. So now he's going to give report to you guys. Mr. Sala? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sanyas. Maybe a little bit of clarification here because I was thinking through that I gave a statement. And now I'm talking about the report of the same statement. The same report. Okay, what's the Okay. Good morning,
representative of the Ministry of Finance, the Managing Director, Social Security, fund members, Social Security, all here present and all protocols duly observed. It gives me a great pleasure to stand before you here today in this August gathering as we witness the end of my tenure as the Federated Pension Scheme representative to the Board of Directors of Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation. The Board of Directors, as we are aware, is charged with policies and for ensuring the maintenance of good corporate governance, which the Social Security Board relentlessly carried out in the past 3 years, 2018 to 2021, under the able chairmanship of Mr. Sering Babukar Jallo. During the 3 years term that we went through, at least 11 board meetings were held, excluding the extraordinary meetings held due to exigencies to consider and deliberate on issues. It could be recalled that when we came new as a board, at the beginning we sailed through turbulent waters on issues relating to staff matters and on rest. But with objectivity and foresight, along with some policy intervention from government, the prospects and future of Social Security turned bright, and the confidence in Social Security as a respectable institution was normalized and seen within the envy of all. For an review of the FPS, below highlights the financial performance of the Federated Pension Scheme 2018, 2019, 2020. 2018 based on the audited financial statement, 2019 based on the audited financial statements, and 2020 based on the unaudited financial statements as the latest available information. Total income for 2018 was 93 million, rose by 32% to 123 million in 2019. In 2020, rose to 34%, that is 124 million. Total expenditure was 51 million, 425,000 in 2018. 2019, 39 million, that is 23% reduction. 2020, 41 million, 18% reduction. That shows the control measures that is instituted by both the board and management of the Social Security. The surplus was 41 million, 2018, increased by 101%, that is to 83 million in 2019, and 83 million and 40,000 in 2020. That is 99% increase in surplus. The total assets of the Federated Pension Scheme was 1,706 million, rose by 39% to 2,366 million in 2019, and rose by 52% to 2.5 billion in 2020. Members' fund was 1.5 billion in 2018, increased by 17% to 1.7 billion in 2019, and in 2020, increased by 29% to 1.9 billion. Investment properties, 231 million, increased by 95% to 243 million. 243 million. Cash and cash equivalent was 18 million in 2018. 2019, 12 million, and 2020, 109 million. The trade and other payables was 25 million, 2018, 11 million in 2019, and 2020, 42 million. The above figures indicates that the FPS has generally been growing from strength to strength, remain sound and healthy to be able to honor obligations to process payment benefits and entitlements to its members and other stakeholders as and when due. In short, medium, and long term in view of the investment and expansion strategies being undertaken by the corporation, both for short and long term. During the course of the past 3 years, the board considered and deliberated on various issues related to staff matters, contentious and conflicting issues requiring board interventions and consideration, including but not limited to the following: consideration of the institutional assessment and HR audit report, its action plan and implementation, investment proposal to acquire additional computer shares, new projects implementation of the Nafugan housing estate projects in Yuara Basin, ongoing consideration of developing old law courts complex in Banjul, the shopping mall, investment in old staff quarters in Cape Point, investment in the quadrangle-like offices and housing estates, and other social responsibility interventions in the health sector, particularly Gama and Demba. Some months after we came into office in late 2018, we had a stakeholder meeting at Semegayane Hall, which availed us the opportunity to interact and clarify issues with members. I'm happy to report that to members individually and collectively were perhaps not confronted with issues to have cause and engagement in a similar confab. Going forward, similar engagements should be fostered where necessary. To my contemporaries, colleagues, board members, during the 3 years, we deliberated on issues and do at times had divergent views which are healthy, and constructive to allow for expression of opinion, but also provided grounds for exhausting all possibilities, pros and cons, and clearance of conscience. At the end of the day, we disagreed to agree with the resolution. Democracy was the hallmark at play. Bravo to the board chair for that study leadership stewardship. Finally, as we come to mark the end of the present tenure, in the Social Security Board of Directors, allow me to express my sincere thanks and tender gratitude to the board members for the confidence you had in me to serve as representative in the board, as members are from various institutions. Nominations or elections of the representative, of the next representative, is open to all members. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. FPS Rep. Any questions for the representative before we proceed? Yes?
I have a remark to make. I think the tone was very low for me. I think I get most of the things that he said. I don't know whether you can get a copy of what he was speaking from. That's positive.
Okay. Any other question for the board representative? Yes, Mr.
Good morning. My name is Sebu Kujami from the AMRC. Of course, I've done the new management of Social Security because this is the first time I know, and many others might have known, that the FPS is being represented by Mr. Sala. And if he is representing us, I think the views should be from us to the board. But as far as I know, we have never received any communication from Social Security in terms of electing a rep for the FPS. However, since this is the beginning, we believe there will be more communication and more dialogue between the rep and the people he or she will be representing. Because that will help. Because it is us that should give our concerns or what we want to be deliberated at the board level. So if we are not in touch with the rep, then it's like he's not representing us. So I believe we should know who our rep is so that we will be in touch with the rep. And also in terms of elections, next time, I believe you will only go to elections if you know who you are going to vote for.
Well,
because the communication we receive is electing a rep, and I was like, Who are we elected? Yeah, but it's among us, I think, there might have been institutions who would be interested. And these Social Security next time can invite interested institutions to send in their nominations. And then not be communicated to the entire world. That's my suggestion.
But that's the forum. That's why we invited all of you. Yes.
So that we will all know GPA, so that maybe now are interested in the rep. Then they can do their protest among the institutions. Then when we come here, we know we have to elect either GPA or now. Then we do the voting. And that will make life easy. Or the current rep, if he's interested to extend his or her term, should also be known to the members. And the members will have an informed decision before treaty. That's my
yes,
view.
Okay. Right? Okay. That's why you are called into this forum, invited all the Federated Pension Scheme members, all of you. It's about 50, and you are here. And we did say in the invitation letter that his term expires.
I think he's understood what he's saying.
I
think let's carry forward.
Yes.
I think that's the best way to
Okay, all right. You noted. Any other question before we move? Okay, since we don't have any other question, the next we have coffee break.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by thanking my former employers, Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation, for the vote of confidence in allowing civil society in the Gambia to run their elections. We are not the independent electoral commission, but we will do our best to ensure that elections are free, fair, and transparent. To begin with, can I ask all those, we have 32 institutions that are represented here that are eligible to vote. So can I ask if you are an institution eligible to vote to please move on this side, because I notice there are some staff members of Social Security, and so that it will be easy to distribute the ballot papers. So if your institution is eligible to vote, please just sit on this side. Then we know that these are the eligible voters, and they don't need attestation. Yeah. All right. The other thing I want to put as a ground rule, each institution has one vote. So if you have two people representing an institution, can the one person assigned to nominate or elect or to vote, can that one person remain and the other person go on this side? Are you? Okay. So if you are from the same institution, two of you, can one please move to my right and your left? One vote per institution. So we want to make sure that all the people seated on this side, okay, this middle row is what, the reporters? Press? Is that the, All of you, you are eligible to vote. So can you try to find or move some seats to this side? Because we will give ballot papers for those that are here. All right. We have gone ahead and we have nomination sheets. I hope we will not have 18 political parties in this election. And counting. I hope. Because really, I have prejudiced this and I have 5 ballot papers. Not ballot papers, 5 nomination papers. Because I thought, and I believe you people are so organized and civil that we will not have 18 candidates. So we have been told that the Gambia Ports Authority has served their term. Am I right? and are not eligible to be re-elected? He's eligible. Okay, so he has one more, he can have one more term. Well, anyway, we want to open nominations. So we have the nomination sheet. In the nomination sheet, the name of the nominee, the organization or institution they are coming from. Then the nominee will sign. The signature of the nominee means that they endorse and agree to be nominated. Then who is nominating would sign your name, signature, and seconded by who. It is here, and then I will sign as chairman of IEC, Social Security IEC. We have designed special ballot papers that have not been, it's only now you're seeing them. So nobody's, we will not have any double voting or forged ballot papers. They are specifically made for this. So what you will do, after we receive the nominations, you will write the name of the candidate, and then we have our ballot box that you will come and you will fold the paper and drop it here, and after we'll count the votes. I know that some people are so modern that they don't come with pens. I have pens, but make sure this IEC is underfunded. Make sure you return the pens because I have other elections to conduct. So let's begin by welcoming nominations for the representative of the Federated Pension Scheme. Let's receive nominations for that representative. We will put this here for election time. So, do we have anybody that wants to nominate?
I am nominating
You are nominating? Abubakar Dabo GRTS. Okay. Who else is nominating? Yes? And where are you from, sir? You state your name and your institution.
I am
GNPC, and you are nominating Abubakar Dabo GRTS. So you have to put the name of the nominee here to sign it. And I'm seconded by who? GRTS is seconded by who? Sir, yes? Sorry? Adamaba, you are second in the nomination. Please, you have to speak out. You see my ears, they are very small. So I cannot catch. So you have to please speak up. Okay, yes, Mrs. Lewis, you are nominating. Mr. Sala, nominated by Mrs. Lewis of Family Planning, Gambia Family Planning Association. Seconded by who? Seconded by Kamisa. So fill the form. He has a place to sign, and then we would accept the nomination. Who else? Any other nomination? This one is two parties. Well, in the absence of any other nomination, sorry, there is one coming. Yes, sir. You are? You are nominating. What's your name, sir? And the institution? Okay, and you are nominating GRA. Seconded by, does GRA have anyone to second there? And you are? Musa? From where? From Naka. Okay. 3 political parties and counting. We have GRTS political party, we have GPA political party, and we have GRA political party. Any other one? In the absence of no other nomination, we will close the nomination and await receipt of the nomination forms. All the institutions, the 3 that have been chosen, have you agreed? GRTS? By your signature, we will get that. And then GRA and GPA. You are okay, sir? Mr. Salah? Okay. So, I think the suggestion that came early, sorry. Yes.
A quick one. We nominating institutions or individuals, and if so, can the representatives of those individuals, and then we know them by heart?
I believe it's the institutions that are being represented, because with the Federated Pension Scheme, it's the employer that pays, so it's the institution basically. So they are representing the institutions. So even if they move out, the institution still has a seat on the board. This is using my old social security number. All right, okay. Can I have the nomination forms that I can sign? Sam Kepa Selika, can you just put your institution for the record? You have put your institution as the nominee. Yeah, put you. Okay. Yeah, if you nominate, please make sure you put your institution so that, for the records, this I will leave with Social Security, so that everybody knows the election was free, fair, and transparent. These days, election wahala is it's not easy. Thank you. All right, thank you. So we have again 3 candidates. Mr. Abubakar Dabo of GRTS, nominated by Mr. Keba Sedikan of GNPC, seconded by Adam Abba of NAWEC. We have Mr. Sala. Mr. Sala, what's your first name, sir? Eh? Sorry, just put Mr. Sala Tamsir, Mr. Tamsir Sala of Gambia Ports Authority, nominated by Mrs. Awa Jane Lewis of Gambia Family Planning Association, seconded by Kadi Sane of Sane Jobate of Gamtel. Then we have the nominee of GRA, nominated by Handifa? Wandifa. Okay. By Wandifa Sedili. Hey, Wandifa, your writing is nice. Of GMA Maritime, okay, Agency, Administration. And then seconded by Musa D. Kora. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the names. I will ask my able assistant to send each one. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I think I'm going back to my previous question. You mentioned names, 2 names for 2 institutions.
Yeah.
And I think same for the institutions have to nominate other people. And the third one, there are other institution names.
Okay.
Well,
I think GRA.
If my memory serves me well, in the last election, the candidates were given 2 names
to make their pitch. Yes.
If we don't have the actual representative on the ground here, that will defeat the purpose.
Okay. All right. Okay. We will open the floor for that, but we will hand over the ballots so that after they send in after they make their pitch, we will give each of them 3 minutes. I think really we don't want political statements that we will build you roads. And since we are in elections, let me tell you a little joke. The president, some candidate in Uganda was standing for elections, and he promises people that he will give all of them shoes. He will give them a pair of shoes when he becomes the leader of the country. No, it was this, how do you call it? Local government elections. That if he wins, he will buy all of them shoes. So he won, and the people were asking for the shoes. And he said, how do you expect me to know the sizes of your shoes? It's not possible to know your sizes, so I'm not buying any shoes. So please don't promise what you cannot keep. All right? So we will go by the order of the nominations. So we will invite Mr. Abubakar Dabo of GRTS to...
Since he's the one there, and he's the communicator,
Are you the chairman of the Electoral Commission? I will disqualify you.
don't worry.
All right, we will get Mr. Dabo, and we will share the ballot papers.
Well, I deliberately said that because he was the one there, and he's vying to take the position again. And I maybe, you know, if I give out my plans and maybe some of the, you know, you know how politicians do things. Well, on a more serious note, I would like to first and foremost thank you all for finding time to come over here and to participate in this very important engagement. My name is Elijah Bokadabo. I'm the Director of Administration and Human Resources at the Gambia Radio and Television Services. We've been told, like everyone else, that we have been represented at the level of the board. And as a seasoned administrator, well, by the way, I also lecture at the university, and I can see some of my colleagues here, Yankuba. So as an administrator, there are principles that guide representation as far as important bodies are concerned. And if you look at the way we've been represented, I think there's a lot missing in terms of communication, feedback, and making sure that people know their rights and responsibilities as far as the membership is concerned. So, and to make sure that there is that flow and collegiality and networking, some people have raised very important observations concerning, traditional medicine issues, for example. Having groups to go and visit different organizations, share with them what the Social Security does, because this is about staff, it's about their earnings, it's about their life. So I think it's important that everyone is on the same page to make sure that our people at the end of their retirement get the best out of what they're supposed to get. And they are in touch with the realities of retirement, because retirement for some people is like going to the grave. So how do you make sure that you cow them and encourage them and support them in that transition to make sure that at least they transit happily into another life, which perhaps could be even better than the working life. So I think these are some of the things that we'd like to promulgate at the level of the board, and to make sure that the most effective policies and principles are being observed in the best interest of the workers. So in short, this is what I want to say. And I please count on you to all vote for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now we have Mr. Tamsir Salah from GPA to come and make his speech. Mr. Salah.
Thank you very much for being here again to talk to the members. For the past 2 years, I have been serving you in the board, and I personally know the role I played in the board, how instrumental, vocal I was at the board. It's a learning curve. I have 3 years, I've served 3 years. As I said, it's a learning curve. We know what is good for the members, and we fight for the cause of the members, and we continue to fight for the cause of the members. I've submitted my statement, which is available to all of you. It's left to you. If you are satisfied with my performance for the past 3 years, then I'm available to continue to serve you in this August board. Here we have the secretary to the board, who knows how instrumental I was of Motel August, and I'll continue to fight for the cause of the membership. I'm a finance man by background. I'm the Director of Finance Gambia Port Authority. In an institution where finance is crippled, everything is crippled. Finance is the backbone of any institution. Where you don't have the finances, you are doomed to fail. And we stand for the cause of the institution as far as social security is concerned. I have given you the income statement for you to know the revenue profiles, revenue dynamics, revenue history of the institution. That is going in the right direction as far as expenditure is concerned. We are concerned with the controls and monitoring mechanism in place. What is good for the institution, what is good for the nation, what is good for the members. So based on that, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah. I will call the representative from GRA to come and give his speech. GRA. If you don't have a pen, please indicate by hand, and we will send you a pen. All right, Mr.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Siri Drame, Deputy Director of Human Resources and Admin, GRA. We are contesting for this election for a number of reasons. One, it is a cross-cutting issue that affect almost everyone in this room. We all know today, as in the employment, as you started, automatically your focus should be the day you are going to exit. How does it come? It's either by death or by retirement. That requires a thorough planning and also an understanding of how well you think you want to manage your life after retirement. This is important, and for this reason, the GRA, we have initiated a program called pre-retirement training. We are preparing those that would be retirees mentally so that they get prepared after life, after work. And this is important. We draw resource persons from various specialists. They come, they take them through, and they ask questions. Today, it is yielding dividends. Those that are already existed are already out there, and they are also earning an income outside, different from their employment. For this reason, ladies and gentlemen, it is not a political show. It is about explaining constructively what is out there for all of us and how well we should be prepared mentally to get through there. The ball is in your court. I contest for the election. Thank you.
So we've heard from the money people, we've heard from the ports people, we've heard from the journalists. Ladies and gentlemen, the choice is yours. I will give you about a minute or two. I'm sure some of you have written. If you have written, please just fold it. It's secret ballot. Just fold it and drop it in the box, and we will very soon count the names. Write where the logo is, and then fold it and cover what you've written. So, yeah, just drop it. If you have written already, just drop it in the box. Anything outside the box is an invalid vote. We have issued out 31 ballot papers, if I'm right, 31. So we expect 31 votes. Let it be noted that Social Security has gone ahead and initiated paper ballot in Gambia. We are moving away from the marble, slowly. Anybody outstanding? Has everybody voted? Okay, polls are closed. We are counting, now counting the votes. Come. Don't go far before. Sorry? That's. Definitely, we will not dare do that. Because we don't have. Who? We have an independent observer here. All right. I will call Miss Aisen, Mrs. My good sister. She's one of the people that initiated the group that was very active in trying to bring sanity into the issues of social security when there was this tension between the staff and management some few years back. She is very much passionate about what happens in social security and has decided to make time to come here as an independent observer today. So let me call Ms. Sen, my good sister, Aisen, to come and she will open the ballots and call the name, and then we will be counting as we go. Huh? Oh, okay.
Assalamu alaikum. I think it is a surprise that I'm invited to do this, but I don't think it's also anything, I don't think it's an issue. I think we are all in it, and we all have the same passion to make sure that our interest is protected, and that whoever we nominate or we elect today will be here for all of us. So on that basis, Mr. George Charles Jai, you've given me to a husband. I am a Senka.
My good yes.
Okay, so what do we do?
So you just call the name and then we will tabulate. Okay. So please, party agents, you can be tabulating. You call the name. Okay. That is for who?
Tamsir Sala.
Tamsir Sala. One vote. No, you have to put it here.
Okay.
Yes.
Sidi Drame.
That's GRE.
GRE.
Okay.
Mr. Abubakar Dabo.
Okay.
But there is no institution for this one.
Yeah, Dabo is GRE. GRTS. Yeah.
Mr. Drame. No written as Mr. Drame.
GRE. Yeah. The name of it is okay.
Okay. CD Drame again.
Okay.
Abubakar Dabo.
GRTS.
Yeah.
You have to announce, speak out so that everybody hears.
The customer on the podium is not being masked. It must have to go out. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Tamsir Sala.
Okay.
Mr. Tamsir Sala again. Mr. Tamsir Sala. Sidi Drame. Abubakar Dabo. This is Dr. Sidi Drame. This is Abdullah Sala, who is GPA. I think this is Tamsir Sala. Okay. Yari Drame.
Wait. Drame?
Drame, yes.
Okay.
Yari. Abubakar Dabo, KRTS. Tamsir Sala, EPA. Abubakar Dabo, KRTS. Abubakar Dabo, KRTS.
Hold on. Let me tabulate properly. space is tight. All right.
Okay, Abubakar Dabo. Tansi Sala, EPA. Tansi Sala. Says EPA. This also is EPA. Abubakar Dabo. Abubakar Dabo. Sidi Dram. Abubakar Dabo. Sidi Drame. GRA. Abubakar Dabo.
GRA?
Yes.
GRA is in drive.
And this is Abubakar Dabo. And the last one is Sidi Drame.
Let me verify. Okay. Yeah. Since you don't want two results, let me verify. All right. Wow. I told you we have issued out 31 ballot papers. 31. We have GRA, 10 votes. GPA, 10 votes. GRTS, 11 votes. So, you people can afford to make mistakes. I cannot afford to make mistakes.
We are politicians, so our calculations is always fast.
Yes.
You don't tell us what percentage.
This is first past the goalpost. 1997 Constitution. Wait, take your time. Gentlemen, if you agree with the tally, can you sign here? This is the beauty of democracy. I hope this will serve to inspire our political leaders. That after December 4th, we can still be laughing and be happy. Please, the media, tell our political leaders this is the way to do politics. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by once again thanking you all that have contested for this camaraderie. Being one family, this is what democracy is all about. And by the powers invested in me, by the Social Security Management, I, John Charles Jai, as Chief Returning Officer, do hereby announce and declare Mr. Abubakar Dabo of GRTS as the winner and the representative elect to serve on the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation's Board of Directors. So Mr. Abubakar Dabo is duly elected to serve as representative for the Federated Pension Scheme. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think my job is done. I will sign and then hand over these documents to the management of Social Security.
Great job, Mr. Returning Officer.
I'll hand over to Mr. Nyas.
Thank you very much. John Charles Yai, Chairman of the Civil Society Organization, for conducting this very fair elections, which has been accepted by the three candidates. Now I call on Mr. Abubakar Dabo, the newly elected representative of the Federated Pension Scheme, to come on stage here to deliver the vote of thanks. Mr. Dabo.
I think this is the most ill-prepared vote of thanks I'll ever deliver. But first and foremost, let me thank Allah the Almighty for this huge blessing. I think one shouldn't count any blessing bigger than the blessing of representing a people, competent people in a competent board. And I would like to first and foremost thank God and thank you for the trust reposed in me to undertake this important assignment for the next 3 years. Let me also seize the opportunity to thank those who contested with me. I know they all have good intentions, and we are all equally competent to serve in this position. However, luck decides that I'll be there for the next 3 years, and I'm really grateful. The most important thing I would like to emphasize at this point is that we have a huge task ahead. We have a mammoth responsibility to undertake, and your collaboration, your continuous guidance and support will be fundamental in making sure that we achieve our dreams and we reach to the promised land. It's not going to be easy, it's not going to be rosy, but together, collectively, if we put our heads together, our hearts together, and we support each other, I know progress can happen. Nothing happens fortuitous. We need to tighten our belts, we need to do more, we need to give the best we can to make sure that the interest of our people is served. And that's the most important task as a member of the board, to make sure that we fight for the interest of the people, the interest of members, to make sure that their contributions are given in time, to make sure the calculations are made on time, to make sure that the corporation is profitable, and to make sure that we deliver to the expectations. We've heard the figures. I think with time we can do better than that. And now the most important target for me at the moment is how do we make sure we build the networking, because that's very, very essential. Most of us never had the opportunity to come and sit here and to know what's even happening. But I think from now on, our major task, what I will try to advocate for as a matter of priority, is to make sure that we reach out to each participant, get in touch, sit with them, discuss, and make sure that they are in tune with the realities of the Social Security. That way, you will know what you've contributed, what you've not contributed, and then you'll be on alert all the time to make sure that you live up to your responsibilities. I'm taking too long, I know, but I look forward to working with the board also for the secretary, for the records, and I look forward to a progressive 3 years, inshallah, and we count on your prayers. And I thank you so very much. I'm grateful.
Thank you, Mr. Abubakar Drame of GRTS, for your acceptance speech. According to the program, that's the end. We would like to seize this opportunity to thank all member institutions who are present here today. We say a big thank you and bye-bye.
My name is Abubakar Dabo. Some call me Alhaji Abubakar Dabo. I am the Director of Administration and Human Resources at the Gambia Radio and Television Services. I'm also the newly elected member to the board. I think the expectation should be how do we build the network, because that's the major observation I have as far as problems are concerned. There's disjointed efforts in terms of thoughts, in terms of people's positive energy to make sure that they share their views on the issues that matter. So one of my primary responsibilities will be how do we make sure that everyone is contacted when it comes to engagements, how the view of everyone is brought on board to make sure that we all together contribute through me to the success of the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation, because my role is going to be an individual role, and you have other members who will be on the board as well. But together, if we put our heads together, if we put our minds together, if we put our positive energies together, there's a lot we can change and influence. One other important thing that I would like to also emphasize on is how do we make sure that the corporation maximizes its potential and generate more revenue for the pensioners. I mean, you all understand that when someone pensions, their salary or their earnings reduce gradually, perhaps you can say significantly. And if that happens, and especially if they don't have other trades to do, that life balance can be a problem for them. So how do we make sure that we maximize, what they receive, to make sure that at least they live decent lives even after retirement? That's an important thing that I'll advocate for. I am happy that my colleagues have trust in me, and they gave my institution the chance to take up this important role as a board member. Being in a board is not an easy task, because a lot is expected of you, especially if you are representing all the parastatals, literally. That's a huge task. So together with their contributions, their thoughts, their positive energy, I hope we'll be able to have a successful 3-year term. Possibly extend it. Yes.